Hi, this is Brass Check, and I'm recording this on Sunday, November 23rd, 2025. And yesterday was the anniversary of the assassination of JFK. Did you hear anything about it from anywhere? Of course, we do multiple shows about it every year. How do you fail to mention that this is the anniversary of one of the biggest assassinations in American history, in modern history? It was a big deal. And yet the mainstream news media, including the alternative press, appeared to have nothing to say about Kennedy's assassination. You really don't want to be talking about JFK's assassination now, do you? Because we're still dealing and digesting Charlie Kirk's assassination, and they do not want comparisons to be made. Therefore, I will make the comparisons. All right. Parallels between JFK and Charlie Kirk. Number one, both young men. Kennedy was only in his 40s, which is astonishing, given that we now have geriatrics, octogenarians running the country. It was amazing that we once had a president that was healthy enough to do what young people are able to do. Unbelievable how we've fallen. But in any event, both young men, both very charismatic. Like them, love them, loathe them, hate them, neutral about them. You have to admit they have charisma, at least for large numbers of people. And of course, Kennedy had a much bigger following. Obviously, he was president of the United States, but Kirk had a pretty good sized following for a young fellow. In fact, I would dare say if you looked at Kennedy at Kirk's age, Kirk was ahead of him without a billionaire dad. Well, I don't know. He had billionaire supporters, so that's kind of almost the same as having a billionaire dad. But in any event, again, like him, love him, loathe him, whatever, it's irrelevant. The guy had a lot of firepower and a lot of potential. So both young men, both very charismatic, and both independent. They had whatever they believed is what they said. And some of the things they believed were crazy, but they were honest about them, which is pretty good. So independent, and they had no problem going up against large forces. They didn't seem to bother them at all. Big fan base. Obviously, Kennedy, president of the United States, has a pretty big fan base. But Kirk had a massive fan base. It's not outlandish to say that he was a key element in the reelection of Donald Trump because he got out the youth vote, which is a very hard vote to get out. What else can we say about them? All right, let's talk about their death. Well, think about this. I don't know if anybody's mentioned this. They were both killed in, quote, friendly cities. And by friendly, I mean friendly to criminals. Dallas, absolutely organized crime, white-collar crime, the home of Lyndon Johnson, the home of the Hunt brothers, the home of just all kinds of nefarious people. If you're going to, remember, I said this in an earlier call last time. If you're in the business of committing crimes, it's really good if you control the police and the district attorney, because if you control them, you can do whatever you want. And that's why Kirk was killed in Utah, and that's why Kennedy was killed in Dallas. Very, very friendly places for criminals to do what they do. All right, I'm going through this list piece by piece. Pathetic security. I mean, we just had that interview with the head of Charlie Kirk's security team. Oh my God. And he's still working for them. That guy's an idiot. I mean, I think if you haven't seen the video, just watch it. And I'm going to say something, and I don't mean to offend people that love law enforcement, but he's got the typical smug, entitled, lazy approach to work that is all too common among law enforcement people. And if you've ever hired an ex-law enforcement person, as I have, not the most impressive people. Sorry to say that. My experience is most guys who go into law enforcement go into it because they tried to work as contractors, like doing practical, useful things, and they found the work too hard, and so they became cops instead. And this guy's the epitome of that. And I know that there must be counter examples of that. I would be happy to meet one. Open-minded, but I'm not impressed. And I'm not impressed. And so anyway, the head of Kirk's the former Charlie Kirk, um, uh, the head of his security, was a veteran police officer. And I'm telling you, laziness and entitlement. And that just watch the video, go out and hire a few ex-cops, and then come back and report to me. The guy's the epitome. So very, very poor security. And of course, Kennedy had insanely bad security. The Secret Service were out drunk the night before. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't provide security. And as the great Fletcher Prouty says, if somebody's got a high profile and you want them dead, you don't have to do anything. Just pull back the security. and nature abhors a vacuum. There's always nut jobs out there, and somebody will come forward. However, the guy in jail right now for killing Kirk, not the guy that did it. And he may be a nut job, but he's not the guy. All right. What else can we say? Both were threats to national security. And I said this in the last call, and I can't stress this too highly. Anybody who is deemed a real threat to national security is likely to be murdered. Doesn't matter if you're president, doesn't matter if you're Charlie Kirk. Okay? And why would John F. Kennedy? Well, he was a communist, according to all the right-wing lunatics. I don't mean conservative people. I mean right-wing lunatics. Very different. Kennedy was a communist. Kennedy was working with the communists. And there were a lot of people in the military that thought that was a bad thing. And I guarantee James Angleton thought it was a bad thing. Head of counterintelligence, read JFK and RFK's secret battle against Zionist extremism. When they deem you a national security threat, you will be eliminated. So they both shared that. What else do they share? Well, destruction of evidence, right? What did they do with the limo, right? I mean, you got to understand something. Like the guy Kennedy was shot, right? In a limo. So what did they do with the limo? They packed it up, sent it out of town, stripped it, cleaned it bare, and rebuilt it. Really? I mean, that's not normal, but they did it anyway. What did they do with the very ground that Charlie Kirk was standing on, which probably had bullet fragments in it? They paved it over. And by the way, they did that. That's how Mae Brussell, if you don't know her, M-A-E, Brussell, really deserves a lot of credit. She's ignored because she's not alive. And no influencer cares to mention her. But she was one of the great, great scholars of the Kennedy assassination. And she got suspicious when she found out that within a week after the assassination, they cut down a tree in Dealey Plaza. They removed a sign and replaced it. Why? There wasn't even a new sign. They just took it down and put up a different one. And they paved over the road. Why? Because there were probably bullet fragments in the tree, in that sign, and in the road. So on the one hand, Kirk, on the other hand, Kennedy, same thing. Immediate and aggressive destruction of evidence, which leads us to our great FBI, the scumbags of the universe. FBI covered up for the Kennedy assassination, FBI covering up for the Kirk assassination. It's that simple. There's no other way to interpret it. Why are they doing it? Because they're in on it. What else? The instant patsy, right? We've got Lee Harvey Oswald, and then we have this poor fellow who's in jail right now. Tyler Robinson, is that his name? Instant, right? I mean, 33 hours, according to See You in Valhalla. Cash. What a joke that guy even has a job even if he was the town dog catcher in a town of a population of 100, it would be pathetic. And he's head of the FBI, or he's head of something, right? It's pretty pathetic. But in any event, they caught this guy very quickly. No, they didn't. And they got Oswald pretty quickly. Both patsies and both set up, both packaged, right? So Oswald was originally packaged as a communist sympathizer. Um, then it became really obvious that he had friends in the FBI and the CIA and the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms, which you rarely hear that connection mentioned, but he also was involved with them. He was sort of a free-floating, um, useful agent for all these different agencies. And we don't really know much about Tyler Robinson. There's rumors, wish somebody would nail him down, that he was very active in ROTC. There's even thoughts that he was in the Ukraine. I don't know, that he disappeared for 2 years. I don't really know. I can't know everything, but somebody should really nail that down, like where that guy's whereabouts. Um, but anyway, Instant Patsy with a colorful cover story. So that's another thing on the checklist. Um, Other thing, this was a public, very public execution, right? This could have been done discreetly. It could have been accomplished all kinds of different ways. Um, Planes falling out of the sky, uh, cars, misbehaving, all kinds of things could have happened. But this is how this is heart attacks, but people that did this chose to make it very, very public. Um, so that's another comparison. Another comparison, utter media silence. Now, the media actually wasn't totally silent after the original assassination of Kennedy. That came a little bit later. They were all sort of locked up. They were sort of going free range, and they were ultimately locked down at where they remain today um, in a coordinated action. Um, with Kirk, everything's already wired, so you don't even have to do anything to keep the idiot news media to say nothing. But anyway, similar media silence. And then the last piece is military involvement. Military involvement. Where do we have military involvement in the Kennedy case? Well, there was a seizure of the Kennedy body. The body should have stayed in Dallas, president or not. It was a crime committed in Texas and in Dallas, and that becomes a local matter. And instead, the body was stolen and it was brought to where? To Bethesda, I think, or some military hospital. And this is one of the stories often told, not disputed, that there were unnamed military leaders, generals and admirals in the autopsy room. Now, why? Why? Think about that. Why? What purpose does a non-physician, non-pathologist have in an autopsy room directing the action? Military, and this taking this full circle, if he was considered a threat to national security, then the military, the FBI, the CIA, they all would have come together at a high level to work all this out. And with the Kirk situation, the Patsy appears to have all kinds of potential military connections. There's also the issue of that we very much want to keep sending arms to Israel. We very much want to keep sending arms and money to Ukraine. And this is a military imperative for reasons that are not clear, because it's sure not helping the United States, certainly not helping United States citizens. But clearly it's something that the defense contractors and the military want. And apparently even Kirk's wife, her family was all involved in various dome, protection schemes, missiles. The father worked for Raytheon, I believe, or one of them worked for Raytheon. I think it was the father. But the mother was involved in that business too. So anybody trying to make peace in Gaza or in Israel or in Palestine or in Ukraine was going to cost Erica Kirk's family a big payday. Not saying she was involved, but everywhere you look, the criminal that is now presenting himself as Charlie Kirk's personal pastor former Navy intelligence guy. We're doing a little video on that shortly, and then I'm going to get back to my book. By the way, the book, which is here, this is just the excerpt version. This is available right now. Okay, I think we priced it at $4.90, some ridiculously low price. No profit to us. We literally don't want any. I mean, if I could just put it in your hands, I would do it. But I'm not a billionaire. But if you'll put up $4.95, you can get some of the juiciest chapters in this book. We got a great review from Stephanie Seneff, senior scientist at MIT. We will get other reviews from people like that because this is a great book. There's nothing like it. And when the big one comes out, minds will be blown. It's my best book by far. And I'm glad to get it off my shoulders because I have shelves and shelves. You're just seeing a fraction back here. Shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves of books on medical history, the history of medical corruption. And it's a burden to carry this stuff in my head. So it's all going to be in a book for the first time. And I've read all the books on the subject. Some of them are quite good, but this one goes deeper than any other book. So anyway, this is coming. This is out now. You can get it now. Please get it. It's morale boosting for me. And believe me, morale is always needed to be boosted. So anyway, just to do a review between JFK's murder utterly ignored the anniversary. Both young men, put this here, both young men, both charismatic, both very independent, both trouble for the authorities, both had a huge fan base, both were killed in friendly cities, both would have been considered threats to national security. Both were on the receiving end of a non-FBI investigation. Both had the evidence in their murders destroyed immediately after the assassination. Instant Patsy, and the Patsy has a colorful background story. It was both were very public executions. Media totally silent, and more than a few not so subtle hints of military involvement. And you would wonder, given our vast alternative news media, that somebody somewhere would have drawn the connection in detail between these two assassinations. Maybe it was done, maybe I missed it, but boy, I've wasted a lot of time watching videos on this subject, and I haven't seen anybody do it. Why? Why? And I also have to point out, we had this strategy of creating books, which is going pretty well. And then trying to get on other people's podcasts, which has been like rolling rocks up a very steep hill. And it's really interesting. I've been on at least 3 shows that have had over 500,000 views. That's pretty good. That'd be even good for Rogan. And how many times have I been invited back? How many people have seen those shows? Well, we know over 2 million. How many people have called me up and say, "Hey, we want you to talk about the." It's not working that way. It's very interesting to me. It's very interesting to me. I think there's a lot more control of the alternative media than I realized. I am capable of being very naive, but I have to think. I mean, if I had somebody on my show and they were my most popular show of all time on a current topic, I might have them back. And if I were another podcaster watching somebody have a guest on who knocked it out of the park and became the most popular video of over 2,000 videos that a podcaster has posted, maybe I'd like to get some of that traffic, but that ain't happening. That ain't happening. I don't know. You tell me what's going on. I don't know, but I continue to persist. And now you have gotten what you should have gotten yesterday. I assumed somebody else was going to do it, but nobody did, so I did. Comparisons between the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the assassination of JFK, whose anniversary of his assassination was yesterday and was pretty much completely ignored, which is pretty amazing. I just want to clarify or amplify something. So Kirk had to go because he was making noises against the endless blank check support of the gangster state of Israel. And also, Les talked about the fact that he was also wondering, why are we doing what we're doing in the Ukraine, i.e. sending tens of billions of dollars a meat grinder of a war. Whereas if we just stop supporting the Ukrainians, there would be peace. Um, and I should point out, I mean, very clearly, the summer of 1963, just as Charlie Kirk was starting to make noises against Israel, John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert F. Kennedy were making big noises against Israel, specifically, and it's in my book, the nuclear weapons program that they were developing using stolen U.S. materials. And also the fact that we have all these lobbying groups in the United States lobbying on behalf of the state of Israel that somehow don't have to register as foreign lobbyists. To this day, they get away with it. So yeah, in case that's another very close parallel between the two cases.
Brass Check TV, free to you, not free to us. We've got a server bill, we've got an email software bill, we've got a tech helper bill, and that happens every month. So to everybody that is supporting us financially, that's paying for their subscription in one way or another, we really appreciate it. If you're not, consider doing so. Everybody's got money for the newspaper and the cable bill and all that. Do you have money for media that's actually serving you? That's really the issue here. And when you help us, it allows us to get this information out to the world. So thanks to all our supporters, and if you're not a supporter already, please consider becoming one.